actually a standout matchup, not even reducing it down to a standout mirror matchup. It's just been really fun on these new maps with the new patch, with everyone trying to figure out what is best. Let's figure out who is best as we head into this best of 5 on Royal Blood. In the top right for Kaiser Gaming, he is the Red Terran, Oliveira.
In the bottom left-hand corner, it's time to make some noise like it's a Monday night for our player from Mouse Sports. The blue Terran is HeroMarine.
If it was a Monday, he'd win. That's
Yeah.
a fact.
Well, that's just not fair on a Monday, Zombie Grub.
No, it's
Why do you think they host the tournaments on the weekends now? Well,
to reduce his power.
Well, they've always done it, but...
Now they've changed it. No, that would be too overpowered if that were the case. Didn't let that stop him from making it top 4 last year, of course. We have lots of HeroMarine fans in the audience. Of course, he streams. He has some cheeky comments now and again. He talks a lot as we do. Get to interact with the European players a whole ton. Oliveira, of course, coming over from China, the region that, you know, just straight up, it does get less attention. You can't really argue against that. Yet he does consistently dominate it, and when he does perform in international tournaments, again, lots of pro players say, like, you don't understand, he's actually really good. Like, we should be scared of him. He's not coming in here as some, like, poor soul who got invited because, you know, he got a seat or something like that. He absolutely deserves to be here. He made it through his groups when people did not expect him to. Now he's here in the round of 12, definitely with his sights set on the next stage.
We just don't get exposed to a lot of Oliveira without the latency issue of online, right?
Yeah, that's
So then when you see him playing against these guys online, yeah, maybe he looks a little bit worse, but he's almost always got the worst latency situation going on. Like, the servers just don't favor him. Offline, we always expect him to potentially be a threat in this tournament so far. He has been, especially in the TVT matchup, which of course is under the way with very similar openings. They're not going to diverge from one another just yet, but we'll wait to see when they do, because obviously TVT has a lot of little differences you can make early. HeroMarine just checking out early for proxies, and Oliveira more or less just doing the same.
Yeah, no one trying to go into a mass amount of early game units and not really going straight into that reactor. I mean, we've actually gotten so many TVTs that start differently. We've gotten a handful that did start very similar, but then quickly diverted off into craziness because, you know, start some base trade or something like that. If this was to go into just a regular 3cc setup, then that would be actually kind of maybe even rare in this matchup. But already we have a slight difference. Oliveira actually adding a tech lab to his barracks, immediately swapping that off with the factory. As you can see, for HeroMarine side of things, this would be the more normal thing to do. So what is Oliveira planning?
Yeah, it's just going to be straight to the Cyclone, right? And just looks as though a tech lab for the barracks as well. So just a bit more of a sturdy force rather than the harassing force. And then you get the Raven out, of course. The thing is, nowadays you can afford to get the Raven out more easily alongside other things, right?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. It really fits into the build a lot better. I think you even have to, you don't have to get your gas, your third gas as fast.
Yeah.
But, you know, the fact, like, he is going to be going into just reduced amount of Marines, right? Possibly HeroMarine too, if he swaps the starport with the reactor. We're going to find out in a second. We have a little bit of scouting harassment going on. But Oliveira did add that tech lab and then another tech lab, right? So the barracks really not being emphasized at all for our Red Terran. And then we look back, he has swapped that off for the starport. As you're pointing out, the Raven's so much easier to get to, really fits in quite nicely, and now he's just kind of even further jumped ahead in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. Just by a few seconds, so it's just a kind of a cute way to get things going. So I kind of like it. You know, HeroMarine has a little army supply lead, but they're units that won't necessarily make the big difference straight away. So we'll keep an eye on that. Cyclone finishes from Oliveira. I kind of hope we start seeing siege tanks, and he will go for that. So there's still a lot of similarities in terms of what they're eventually going to end up on, just different pathways to that endpoint.
Yeah, it does seem to be the way it's going. So third CC should be added on for HeroMarine eventually. That is something that Oliveira is getting a lot faster.
Yeah, and actually, you could maybe argue at some point that HeroMarine is committed to actually pushing and getting something done if he does not add that third CC on sooner rather than later. So definitely scary if you do end up just kind of expanding it later, and, you know, Oliveira's gotten away with that. That's something that's very difficult to catch back up on if you're playing with even amounts of units. So we'll see what HeroMarine can do. I will say, even if you kind of go similar units and similar amounts of units, being the aggressor in TVT can sometimes be a nice benefit, because as the defender, you can be spread everywhere. The aggressor can say, no, I find your weak point here, I get set up, and then you're almost the defender of that position, and you can build on that.
Yes, the attacker becomes the defender in the TVT Siege Wars. No, I get what you're putting down. It is interesting just to watch how fast this third CC is. I was trying to figure out exactly what it was. And I think if we just check the unit count, it is that Marine, the lack of Marine production, right? I mean, only a little, actually. It's just, it seemed like such a clean build order. I think he had less supply depots, but a very similar amount of units. That Oliveira has really just jumped ahead without really all that much happening. Now, important difference, perhaps, I guess HeroMarine, because she hasn't chosen, Oliveira is already into Viking production. So he's not going mech, guys. He's getting stim, as I expect most of the games to be
I'd be kind of baffled if we saw maybe more than one mech game, right?
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, he's going to have that very, very technical army. Perhaps HeroMarine could have a little bit more of a gut punch. He is the first one moving out here. Oliveira is already looking to defend. It's a wide open third base. If you don't know exactly where the opposing Terror player is coming in from, you could be in the wrong position quite easily. As you can see, Oliveira protecting his third base, but not necessarily as natural.
Yeah, this is where it gets awkward, and you've got that extra Raven, so you've got a little bit more busting potential, but it all comes down to one fight. The Vikings can help the zone here from Oliveira, but if they don't zone effectively, if those Ravens all get their abilities off, it's going to become very tough here for defending. HeroMarine is going to push forward. They're both going to push forward. Double Matrix goes down from Oliveira. No Matrix is on the side of HeroMarine. He prefers the auto turrets. He's going to get Reapered as well, and now the tank's in range of the other tanks. HeroMarine's attack is taken down.
Yeah, almost easily. Oliveira just seemed to be controlling the wheel, basically. HeroMarine's a bit of a passenger at this point as his last tank is locked on. Okay, Bailey doesn't die, but it will die. There you have it. HeroMarine is going to have a lot to catch up on. He's still behind in that stim. He was a bit later to the third CC, although their SCV counts are similar. We just had that little bit of a jump start in the actual proper mining from it. And then obviously with that fight, Oliveira has a superior army. That was just really well done. I mean, I hesitate to really say anything like finite about the TVT auto turret thing, right? But I kind of, over the course of the past few days, want to see that auto turret just kind of suck, man. I don't actually want to see them. I want to see the way that Oliveira used his more than I see HeroMarine trying to emphasize a push because of the auto turret. That was old auto turret. Nowadays, it's just, it can't do the same thing.
Which is amazing, because when they changed, like, they made the changes to the auto turret and they brought it back, it's like, man, we've just undone what I thought was a cool change, but actually it's still been effective, right?
Yeah.
The auto turrets just aren't living as much as they need to. Here we go with the fight. We are going to get one auto turret down here, just a buffer more than anything. Absorb a shot or two. The Raven shot down, which helps Oliveira in the skies, just to kind of take some damage before the Vikings take hits, and he is going to be able to win this fight because the damage was being spread from HeroMarine's Vikings. He has reinforcements as well, so Oliveira able to keep moving forward. No tanks left over from HeroMarine, so what stops these tanks getting on the natural? Absolutely nothing. Your engineering bays are going to be exposed, and HeroMarine is really going to have to dig in deep to find a defense, but even then, you're defending 2 bases against 3.
Yeah, this is a terrible spot for HeroMarine to be in. I think we even saw him think about pulling the SCVs, hoping to have that one moment where maybe the tanks were still sieging, and then he could just overwhelm. It's at a sacrifice of SCVs, of course, but then maybe you get our army supply leak. Decided he couldn't do it. I mean, he's kind of working through even more of a brutal choke with his engineering base, where one already got shot down, second one also getting shot down, and there's a Widowmine that was actually going to be cheeky. Doesn't actually get much. The Vikings land, unable to kill that tank. HeroMarine will at least hold on to his natural, but of course during this time, Oliveira just getting further ahead back at home.
23 workers ahead. He's got 1-1 halfway done as well, where the engineering bays of HeroMarine have just been killed. And these few tanks have a backup siege tank as well, so the Marines get blown up too. And just honestly a game that was just better build order from Oliveira. Yeah. And now it's obviously turned into HeroMarine having to do something, which didn't do enough. And he's just constantly behind. Yeah,
so rarely do we have it at this stage in a tournament, but even just the global championships, so you can kind of look at something and be like, well, that was the better execution. This guy just has like more of a handle on it. So, I mean, the build order felt cleaner with that faster third CC. The break of the would-be container from HeroMarine was excellent. And then even behind all of that, we have such a fast pacing from Oliveira. He's confident. He knows he's winning. He takes a 4th base on location. 30 supply lead, not an army. Okay, but HeroMarine's going to tap out anyways. Oliveira with game 1 victory. I wasn't expecting that. I was just going to bring up how when, TVT can go topsy-turvy, but HeroMarine scanned, saw what he saw, and said, yeah, no point.
I mean, HeroMarine's very realistic in that way. Sometimes he says, nope, you got so much more than me. I'm the one that has to do something. How's that ever meant to happen? It isn't. Let's just get on to the next one. Sometimes it's good to do that, right? Just say, push it back, get behind, get past that point and just focus on the next game. Let's not hang around in a game and get myself beat up on what went wrong here.
Yeah, and, that's definitely a positive way to look at it. I'm sure a lot of naysayers will be like, no, you should really try and, stick to the last or in your last life and stuff like that. But I agree. HeroMarine is a very honest player, and he's accurate, which, might have been previous pro gamers' problems when they tapped out. No, he's accurate. Like, he does realize he is dead. So he knew there wasn't going to be enough opportunities to try and weasel that in. So he's going to just go ahead and say, yep, good game, into the next one, and perhaps change it up strategically, as the last, just, again, they looked similar, but time just looked way better.
Yes. Straight up, honestly, right? I mean, just the build order just did that.
Yeah.
Everything about the build order just put him ahead, and yeah, one fight that was also pretty, deciding, and from there, the rest of the game wrote itself.
Yeah. I do want to say that HeroMarine, I came into this best of 5 and said that HeroMarine might bring out some strategies, and then Oliveira will be the one to figure it out. No, HeroMarine actually gives kind of a straight-up macro game a shot. Maybe now is actually when he starts changing it up. When I talked to him about his group and his TVT group, he really didn't have a lot of committed things to say. He really was like, oh, I'll see how it goes. But one thing he did mention was that specifically, he wanted to see how the other Terrans were playing, like how Korean Terrans specifically in his group were playing. And then once he kind of had more of a handle on that, he could figure out what he wanted to do. So I'm trying to say that HeroMarine, he is going to play this out as a best of, right? Yes. So one game isn't going to determine everything. I do believe that HeroMarine can bring it back, but it is obviously on him. That was a fantastic game 1 from Oliveira.
Yep, no, it's all on HeroMarine, and this is one of those moments as well where you've got to be so good at reading what your opponent's doing and figuring out what the issue is and adapting straight away. Some players are really good at this, and that's why they're so good in the best of 5. You think of Rogue's best of 7 winning streak, right? Because all of the time he'd be so good at being like, oh, I can figure out your weakness, and I can figure out how you're playing and abuse that. And that's kind of what you've got to start doing now, especially in a game like this where it's like, well, how did he get that far ahead? Like, you've got 3 minutes or so to figure out what he did differently and then to fix it for game 2.
Yeah, very, very, it has to be very, very quick. But yeah, there are some players that are just fantastic at playing best ofs, and I do believe HeroMarine did show that a little bit last year when he did almost take out Raynor, but then, yes, notably said, he just kind of ran out of steam. So we'll see if he can kind of change it on a dime, change it within that 3-minute period that you were talking about, and then, actually, I think we have a bit of a tech problem.
Oliveira has a slight headphone problem, so a few moments of just getting that sorted out. We'll obviously dive into game number 2 here in the round of 12 of Katowice, the second to last day. Tomorrow we're crowning a world champion.
Feels weird, man.
It feels like it's been fast this week.
It's been very fast, yes. Which is odd because actually we've had a ton of amazing games, tons of game 3s, of course, been best of 3s, but also game 5s in the initial bracket stage. And yet it does just fly by. Time flies when you're having fun with friends.
Oh, I know. All these cool people we get to hang out with. It's nice, isn't it, CG?
Yeah.
Oh, so wholesome.
I gotta be sometimes. I gotta fit it in there,
This is actually a rare occurrence. CG's actually being nice. You guys should see it backstage. He's real mean.
Fearjack asked for a water, and I was like, no.
You had your water allowance today.
Okay, the admin has fixed the headset issue, so I think we are about to get into now Grusfun, which has given us probably the most consistent great games of the tournament.
Yeah, Grusfun has been the standout, right? Repeatedly great games, really fun. Any issues or gripes I had about this map have really been expelled throughout the last few days. It's been a ton of fun. Let's hope it's going to do that in TVT as well, as these two get ready to go in-game. Do you think CG is going to be at any point a little bit like proxy between these two? I do know Oliveira sometimes likes to build 1 racks on the map and 1 racks at home.
Yeah.
Is that something we maybe see?
I think absolutely. Yeah, Oliveira can definitely turn on a bit of that pressure. But right now, we are just getting into the game, and no SCVs are being sent out. So, in the top right for game number 2, or bottom right for game number 2, we do have the red Terran for Kaiser Gaming, Oliveira.
And the top left, Down and Mapper has a long way to go to adapt and rebuild in this series from Mouse Sports. It's HeroMarine.
So, yeah, your point about that potential aggression, even just kind of halfway committed aggression, I do often think of Oliveira's TVT as being very action-packed. Lots of tier signs for big game. Well, of course, because French people go on strike for anything. That's how that goes. Anyways, I do think too, actually, some really action-packed TVTs, and it's not necessarily his fault, just the way that the openers would happen. But Oliveira has played some seriously sick, down to the wire, one supply versus one supply type of extreme scenarios in both TVT as well as the other matchups. So I don't know, this guy really can do it all. It feels like when you really get down to thinking about Oliveira. I mean, this might sound rude, but just because he is in that different region, you don't get to talk to him about him that often, but you really get into it, you really think about it, and it's just like, this guy can really do anything. Like, he's fast, he's got a bunch of build orders, he seems to have really gotten a handle on the new patch and the new maps. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to watch him play, man. It's really just been a treat when you get to see him, especially offline, and you, again, take away that kind of disadvantage sometimes players with latency and so on. He is just such a cool contender. It's kind of cool to have a contender like that, right? That we not. Again, we're kind of biased in the sense of, like, we see the European scene a lot. We cast a lot of that, you know, the Korean scene too. It's just cool to see Oliveira come in and be someone we know about, but can still get more excited about as we just get to watch his games all week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a pretty typical opener so far. Factory expand. If someone is going to try and fit in something a little bit greedy, I would expect it to be HeroMarine again, just being more of the build. Having to do the build, but the guy that has to mix up his builds, Oliveira might just be playing it safe. I believe our observer just pointed out that he just took all of his guys off of gas on one of those refineries, which is a little bit weirder of a way to play it, but it's back on.
Yeah, very interesting. Obviously, it's a little bit of a difference where Oliveira's continued to build Reapers, whereas HeroMarine is going for the reacted Reapers. More or less, you know, for a few moments, Oliveira will have the advantage, then the Reactor Reaper is going to take over. This is a map with no ramp on the natural, so if you do want to try some Reaper Hellion aggression, much easier to push in and to maybe try and make that happen.
That's exactly, that's pretty much, I think, why HeroMarine would choose to do it on this map, try and get that advantage. Oliveira is moving out with what shortly be an inferior number of units. Yeah, HeroMarine is actually even getting positioned. Look, it looks like Oliveira is actually just scouting, setting up a bit of a backstab.
I like that until HeroMarine hits the other side and then Oliveira's not ready.
Yeah.
Like, that one Cyclone is cool, but it's not bulky enough to survive 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions on it, so it's going to be very interesting in a couple of ways, and Oliveira's units are across the map. Can he get rid of this SCV in time? Probably doesn't matter. Here are the Reapers and Hellions on this side. It feels way better for HeroMarine, everything being concentrated together.
Is that a wall? Okay, yeah, this leads to the wall at least, but that is a little bit weird. Oliveira is currently getting some damage done, though, whereas HeroMarine only finally picking up those. Oliveira's Reapers, okay, 2 of them will be able to escape. I mean, I guess because you do have that wall, the Cyclone pops out, what you are potentially sacrificing are just those low ground SCVs, so all of a sudden, I guess that's okay. And then he gets actually counterattack damage done. He takes out the Hellion as well. Some really nice micro being displayed by the Chinese Terran as he heads back in, looking for one more kill. Is he going to get it?
Oh, it's in the refinery. He's going to get one. Surely he does. And now he's going to maybe get a second one, ZG. This Reaper's going big. The SCVs have to come in to take him down. What a sequence of events as HeroMarine. I feel like that was better for him until everything played out. And then you can just see it. He killed 3 more workers, Oliveira did.
It is a bit of a gamble, you know, but it absolutely worked out. Oliveira, you know, the Reapers, I guess, could have tried to dive in for HeroMarine too, but then that would have been very awkward. So it just turned into who could micro a bit better on either side. And Oliveira just barely able to get away with some of those Reapers to get those barely winning moments against the Hellion. Like, that's, I mean, maybe fantastic presence of mind there from Oliveira, but also just maybe a little bit of luck. But now it's a 4-worker difference. Oliveira just looking like he's once again swimming along here in a TVT, and HeroMarine is already starting to drown a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's just those little advantages. And of course in TVT they can get cancelled out very quickly, but we haven't seen HeroMarine make the move to cancel out advantages yet.
Yeah, and it's not just these little supply differences, right? Like, oh, it's 4 supply difference, what's the big deal? 3rd CC, again, insanely faster than HeroMarine's, and HeroMarine's place is his in such a precarious location. I'm actually really surprised he did that.
It's horrible against, like, a tiniest of tank pushes, you know? Like, you've got to be out of your base to stop someone sieging it up. That's surprising, because obviously in this map as well, you can build it on the edge of your main and float it down to a 3rd very easily, unless he doesn't want triangle 3rd, which is weird because it protects your main base. So, yeah, like, very precarious position. HeroMarine coming out of a supply block here, and again, just trailing on that 3rd CC, going to give Oliveira more of a chance to build up that SCV lead.
especially in TVT, I ever hate to just like call it and be like, well, I don't know how you get out of this, but
Yeah.
in this particular TVT, I'm already thinking it. Oliveira gets a scan. That was actually very nice and safe by him, by the way. You know, a lot of Terrans, we are exceptionally greedy. We do not want to scan when we can have Reapers or Ravens, auditor harassment, or anything like that. Really want to make sure he knew what he was doing. He actually, you know, because the command center's in the low ground, you can see there's a third CC, but yeah, if Oliveira continues the course, he will have just a lot more stuff. It might still come down to who finds whose army where and when, but yeah, Oliveira is going to be in a little bit of a lead, and he did such a great job tying up that last game that I really believe he's going to do it again.
A little bit of scouting attempts across the map. We also have the move of that third CC coming through. I was going to mention this, Marine, just cute, right? Just a little heads up just in case something comes in for your mineral line. You can be in position just in case you have to be. Just the little things are being done correctly so far, and by both sides, really. As honestly, I thought Oliveira would be a bit more than the 4 workers ahead right now.
Yeah, I was thinking more like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
For sure. But HeroMarine's third, despite feeling so much later, does get transported over very, very quickly. Oliveira does have a production advantage. His 2 barracks, so a total of 3, do have reactors at this point, or HeroMarine just kind of finished up his own. That might play a part, but right now we got to hone in on this push. So HeroMarine was the first push last game, didn't go so hot. Let's see if Oliveira can make this push really work.
He's gone up without HeroMarine really spotting this army, so as you scan here, you're going to get a setup, and HeroMarine just doesn't know, so Matrixes go down, the tank does get 1 shot off, but you're going to be right on top of this. The Vikings get to jump on 2 Vikings out on their own as well, and just HeroMarine not having the vision necessary. He does have a lot of Raven energy left, but he puts the auto turrets down to what? To push the Vikings away? That's not going to help you in the long run. You'd much rather have those as Matrixes, and now Oliveira has a choice of where he goes. He can go towards the third, he can push further up into the natural perhaps. He's going to dominate the tank count in this game, and he's currently in the lead in the sky as well. He's
kind of just dominating the game, Morty. Not too many other ways to put it. He has taken advantage of the real awkwardness that is trying to get to that third base in any matchup, really, right? Like, you can only position your tank so many places to cover the center ramp, the right ramp, the left ramp. And that's something that HeroMarine was kind of hoping to abuse in the last game. I pointed out that the natural might not be protected, and Oliveira just kind of met him. He accepted the push and said, thank you, I will win this. Oliveira is going to play a little bit safe now and go ahead and pull back. Might be hoping that HeroMarine over-defends on the left, and then just a simple interference matrix down the middle will open up that pathway for the Red Terran.
We're going to stim up here as well. These Marines, though, not going to have the greatest of times. And, I mean, it feels like Oliveira's going to lose out in a big way, perhaps, on the ground. A lot of his Marines fell. He did end up winning the Viking War, only just by half a Viking, essentially. Little Reaper Hellion counterattack is going to potentially do a lot if it doesn't get killed. Low HP doesn't matter if there's nothing else fighting them. So this is HeroMarine starting to do some damage, and Oliveira lost a lot. And I think the biggest issue was his tanks didn't get pushed up far enough to really be annoying on that third base. So he gave a lot up to end up retreating for no reason. Yeah,
no, I think that's exactly correct analysis. Now, Oliveira, he still has that tank count. He was building his 4th on location. He does lose 7 SCVs, but only falls behind by about 4, and still has what would be a superior economy. We'll get the production tab back up. We'll see if he also started up his upgrades. Yes, he did, whereas HeroMarine still a bit later to that armory. So there are still definitely leads here for Oliveira, but he has kind of let the position go, and now back on the map, HeroMarine's going to pounce. Tanks do siege up once again behind what HeroMarine was chasing, so it looks like Oliveira will at least stop this particular push with a concave from Marines as well. He suddenly turns it around, and it is once again Oliveira on the control of the map.
It was the extra tanks in the upper right. They did a lot right there, and they really were able to help out, provide a foothold, and he killed so many tanks, and that's going to be an issue for HeroMarine, because if one time these tanks do get in position, this is going to be great. Now, this is dangerous because you're putting them in range of the tanks straight away, so you're not getting any shots on your opponent's tanks. Is this actually going to be able to work out? Can we do enough siege? He does get rid of one. He'll siege up another, but he still needs some amount of high ground vision medevacs. No, it looks like we're just going to retreat away as the medevacs were coming to doom drop this. He gets on siege. Is that going to be okay? We got extra units running in from HeroMarine as we watch this from Oliveira's point of view. The micro on the tanks as well, and HeroMarine has to back up, but surely there's a high ground siege tank right now.
Oh, there's got to be. Absolutely there is, guys. That was some sick micro displayed there. I actually just started kind of just exclaiming because he microed 3 Marines, 1 Marine more to the left, so that it was only being shot like 1 Marine at a tank. Shot at a time. That was super sick, and then going for the tank drop, trying to get back on the highlight reel, push HeroMarine off, or Hero off rather. Didn't quite make it work to the point that he can break HeroMarine's third, but never forget, guys, behind this Oliveira, faster upgrades, 4th CC already done, turning into a planetary.
Yeah, it's a very exciting game on the map right now, but when you look back and settle down, Oliveira still dominates in every aspect. He's going to have faster 2-2, maybe that will just lead to faster 3-3. The fourth base is obviously a huge deal. HeroMarine's moving his out right now, but still got to land, become whatever it wants to be. And again, with the upgrades now done for a little while, Oliveira should be pretty happy to take Marine on Marine fights as long as he's not overly outnumbered. So lots of little things going on. Like I say, excitement on the map. This can just stabilize. And I guess if HeroMarine now does get a fourth up, we are pretty level.
Yeah, this is where we can say that TVT can just get exciting at any moment, right? Two ships crossing by without seeing each other, and then suddenly we got a base trade going on. That could absolutely happen. Oliveira pushes too aggressively. HeroMarine actually does also have a maxed out army, and the upgrade difference isn't so extreme. In fact, going to close the gap as I am speaking, although Oliveira is still faster on the 3-3. He's once again on the move. HeroMarine on the defense also notably added on more barracks, so very barracks heavy, not starport heavy, leading into the more mid-late game of this TVT.
This is going to be a better siege here from Oliveira. He's actually going to make some progress. He gets a tank straight away. So much of the time in the fights, the reason it's going so badly wrong for him is because his tanks are taking such a beating trying to get forward. And he's just going to go for it now. There's not enough buffer for HeroMarine's tanks, so he's going to pull the trigger. He gets a lot of them very quickly, and he might be able to push further forward this time than he has before. There's, one tank that's not sieged. The drop going to come back in from the other side. All over these tanks, the Vikings will land, but the Marines will try and protect. Oliveira's tanks are dropping low. Extra Marines from HeroMarine, but it's his supply that is not high enough on the tail end of this. GG, Oliveira, 2-0 lead.
If HeroMarine surround had been a little bit more together,
yes,
it would have been awesome. That would have been an obliterated tank count. Time would have had to go back home. Instead, it was just a little bit too off. You know, there wasn't enough on the left by the time the right got around. Oh, what coulda, woulda, shoulda, but instead Oliveira with a 2-0, and he is super happy about it too. Always happy to see a smile and a fist pump. 2-0 in this best of 5, and the statements being made in the particular games is astounding for Oliveira.
It really is. I mean, he is the more convincing player through and through right now. You know, he is getting ahead early, he is doing good things, his micro is on point. The only fault I really have to pick is, you know, he took some bad fights trying to be aggressive when he was ahead. He just couldn't quite break into certain positions he really believed he could. But he kind of fixed that later on. He said, hey, look, the last 2 fights, I didn't quite push my tanks up properly. I didn't get enough done with them. I wasn't serious or, like, committed enough even, because if you put 2 in range instead of just putting 6 in range, that's the difference of breaking a position or not. At the end of the game, he was starting to do that. HeroMarine really could have maybe broke that if it was all on time, but yeah, I love how Oliveira is playing. A 2-0 lead. He's a map away from a quarterfinal.
Yeah, what a performance from him. Really not a lot of light was shown on this guy as he came into Katowice. So much more on HeroMarine, who made the round of 4 last year, but how quickly StarCraft can change, I suppose. Now, HeroMarine clearly showing signs of life, guys. I know we're really being quite impressed by Oliveira, but HeroMarine is not just falling over and dying, all right? The first game, he calculated I couldn't make the comeback. Yeah, okay, he tapped out then. That second game, you could see how things could have turned so quickly, and with his barracks emphasis, if he had gained momentum, it would have been an instant snapback. You know, HeroMarine would have gotten some momentum and taken the map back, but just a little too late to that surround, that would-be surround. Maybe he can get back to a somewhat similar position, a little bit better into it, really make it maybe an even start, and then showcase some really good aggression. So we know HeroMarine can do, but it is his last life as we head into Dragon Scales.
In the bottom right-hand side, a red Terran player. He is 1 map away from a quarterfinal. From Kaisi Gaming, it's Oliveira.
In the top left, we know that you guys love him. You want to see him back in the round of 4 and perhaps even the finals. He needs to do it right here, right now. Come back in this best of 5. He is the Blue Terran, HeroMarine.
He has that crowd behind him, Zombie Rob.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But I think the more that Oliveira shows his gameplay, the more fans that he will accrue and perhaps even continue on not just at the round of 8, but further would be pretty much the best performance from a Chinese player. For a time, in the beginning of StarCraft, Chinese players were actually quite apparent, alongside just kind of more of that general region. Roddy, notably, was very big fans of them, yeah. I think he was the first one to really be happy that Oliveira had come back and had that presence from their region. And absolutely, he had proven to be the best Chinese player for how many years at this point? 5 at least?
Legacy of the Void.
Yeah, there we go, Legacy of the Void. That's the much better way to put it. And he could do even better than he's done before if he continues performing like this. A little bit of an SDV scout, actually. So he is still factory expanding. So maybe it looks like he was quite wary of HeroMarine trying to maybe even a bit desperately do a proxy Rax.
I mean, the thing is, you're 2 up as well. It's okay to just be sure about the 2-0 lead and just be like, I'll just double check. Because to be fair, HeroMarine has no amazing reason based on the last 2 games to just be super standard. So yeah, I don't hate it. SDV scout, maybe you feel like this is the time HeroMarine does something different to turn it all around. A 2-0 lead may not last forever, but you can do everything you can to try and keep it.
Yep. Well, he is going to be going into Command Center eventually. Actually, a little bit later to it. It's the cost of the scout itself. There
Yes.
it is. Yeah. And no quick reactors coming down. HeroMarine, as you had been saying in the last game, that opener actually looked quite good for him. And then it's just like positioning kind of the proper sacrifice, the proper gamble from Oliveira made it better for Oliveira.
It's a really cool little micro one. A lot of decision making. There's a little bit of hesitation when you never really brought up, where HeroMarine went up, down, and up the high ground again, which meant one Reaper died to a Cyclone. And that maybe could have made a difference from being able to come back in and so on. So a little bit of a shame there. As Oliveira does not know double Reaper in his main base. So here we go. First SCV. Going to be in trouble. Good micro back. The second one doesn't get pulled back in time. Can we get a Reaper kill here? That would be fantastic with this Hellion. Good bob. And the Hellion does not get in range. HeroMarine gets away.
Yes, he will. Oliveira going for a Widow Mine's going to protect that ramp, actually. We're on a ramp map now. And then he is actually adding a reactor in Tech Lab. We get a main base check in Oliveira, exactly what that is going on to. Okay, so this is more of what we expected from a more normal TVT build, right? Oliveira had a really clean one in the first game, going to maybe the more standard. Both of them going to be going into Ravens. I don't see any drastic difference coming out here. Just, again, those kind of like little bits where Oliveira this time around is behind an SCV.
Yes, he's been a lot more conservative in everything he's done this game. I feel like compared to previous games, he was very ready to just say, right, let's go. The SCV count does slow you down a little bit, and that's really having a knock-on effect throughout this game so far. So, yeah, lots of just one little thing knocking onto other little things. And as we do have still, I mean, the point where it's like give or take a few workers here or there and a bit of army supply can level out so quickly and so evenly. But for once, I'd say maybe even the first time all series, I'd say Gabe has a bit of a lead.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it, yeah. It's kind of the first time. He was close to gaining, a little bit of edges, maybe in some fights, but I never quite got there. So, as you pointed out, Oliveira just taking a more conservative stance in multiple ways has caused him to fall behind the littlest bit in a very typical TVT. This time around, third CC's basically perfectly even. Raving timing's a little bit different, but this is Dragon Scales, and as we have a rather normal upscale 2-3cc. I do want to point out that so far a lot of the maps have showcased how difficult it can be to defend your natural and your third. This map, I personally think it's like the worst. Trying to take a triangle third and protect all angles that your opponent can come in from, exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's pretty tough to kind of get through there as we have a Raven of Oliveira moments away from finishing up and just trying to again play catch up on a little bit of that tech. Vikings are already in production from HeroMarine, so he'll have that little bit of an edge in the air control, and a fast stem from HeroMarine too gets that started up. The extra racks now coming through here from Oliveira, and he's getting ready for his own stem.
Right, so this is going to be the first big change up then, which is that we're going to have more emphasis on barracks from Oliveira, and HeroMarine's going to go into that technical aspect, tank Viking for an extended period of time. Which, funnily enough, he's getting a faster stem, but Oliver's not that far behind. So we'll see if he can get into a really nice position and then abuse those siege units as Oliveira looks to gain a little bit higher into the Marine count a bit faster. He sees an incoming attack with his little move out. Would have liked to have been able to intercept that a little bit earlier, try and get the Cyclone lock onto something. Now it's already kind of snowballing a little bit. He's going to be contained on 2 bases to a degree, and he just lost 4 SCVs in the main to the Reaper backstab.
Yeah, the the Reapers in the main base is really painful. You're already not in the best of positions here, and you're the one that's then taking damage yet again. He got one good tank shot onto those Marines, but HeroMarine was quick to back away, so he didn't let that really, slip into anything too much further. And maybe HeroMarine can't go any further than this, but, he's slowing Oliveira from being able to take a third onto location. This is obviously something HeroMarine will generally just be very happy about. Exactly,
and he's not going to overstay his welcome, worry about, Ravens coming in from different directions, getting some sick interference matrix. He is going to back away, and Oliveira will gladly take the third CC finally. At the end of the day, very, very few differences. They even kind of chose when to go into Vikings and more similar time than I was expecting. Or perhaps Oliveira just did that because he was wary of being contained. He is going back into medevac, so actually I think that was it. So HeroMarine continues to grow the Viking count. Oliveira going to have more mobility once these medevacs pop out.
Yes, and that is his way back in, right? Being able to maybe move around the map, maybe able to counterattack more easily. He will just have those extra Marines to work with there. So it's something we'll see. Let's have a look at the HeroMarine first-person view. So see how he's setting up. That combat shield's just starting, and just a lot of, kind of chores back at home, right? Get the SCVs and the gases, get the upgrade started. He's doing the boring parts of the StarCraft, but also got to stay active on the map, looking for the, where that movement is and just putting his units in the right places. Yeah, we're witnessing someone, clean right now.
Yeah. But they're really fast at it, and it's really cool, and you guys can't clean as well as this guy can. He's obviously fast, but it is about just making sure they have a tight build order, and as you said, getting that scouting out. That's this phase of TBT, guys. But it is still a very important phase. Last game, he missed Oliveira's move out once again, has basically done that. Now he has tanks covering all he can at his third base, but there's the two medevacs coming into play, boosting into the main base. They're not completely full, but they're absolutely a threat.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one threat on the front and then one in the main base. Let's see what HeroMarine can do to neutralize this. There's that drop-down depot, so that's worth a little bit more than usual here. One tank siege in the main should shut this down for now. SCVs do get to repair that depot. We lift up, and we're going back through the missile turret. Goodbye, full medevac, and goodbye to the tank count as well. HeroMarine comes back firing in game number 3.
Oh my god, what a reversal. This is like the first game, but flip it. Flip the script, Wardy. HeroMarine is dominating this game, despite Oliveira trying to be a little bit tricky. Now, Oliveira is still trying to get kind of ahead, if you will, on the backside, right? He's got that fourth base coming down faster, and then his barracks. But HeroMarine just took an absolutely dominating fight. He has a better supply. He has faster upgrades. It's complete flip. Now it's Oliveira trying to kind of puff up a little bit and say that I'm still scary, I'm still on the map, but honestly, HeroMarine's army, it would dominate any incoming fight.
Absolutely. 30 army supply lead, and HeroMarine gets an idea as to where this is as well, so now Oliveira's just going to back it off. That element of perhaps surprise, catching a fight somewhere just isn't there anymore. He has no reason to be out here. HeroMarine will double down on turrets in the main just to make sure nothing can break through, just to try and eliminate opportunities and ways in which Oliveira could maybe take steps back in this game 3. And yeah, just HeroMarine got a lead early, and this time Oliveira recognized, hey, I'm the one that needs to do something. But when he tried to do something, he couldn't find anything.
No, it was a failure on both sides. Not that he really wanted to push in with the tanks so much. They were kind of almost a distraction, sort of. It was about the drop hitting the main, and then if they got so distracted by the drop, then maybe the tank could advance. But the point is, something had to work there. Neither one worked. Disasters on both sides. So HeroMarine should be feeling very good about this game, very good about his chances to start the comeback. And now we just need to determine how we're going to play the rest of the TBT out. I believe I saw both of them add on nothing but barracks, which again, don't want to say for a fact how TBT is going to go for the future, guys, but it kind of feels like with all the TBTs that we have seen, yes, it is going to be less emphasis on mass Raven, a lot more about mobility and Marines.
What is HeroMarine's eventual advantage, though? Because, now things are evening up a bit. Oliveira had that fourth base slightly faster, was mining there a little bit earlier. As the players max out, it's going to really equalize in a big way.
Yeah, maxing out, great equalizer, right? I mean, usually you would say that someone in that position would have a moment to strike. Didn't really happen. Perhaps they were able to add on faster command centers or even faster production.
Yeah.
That actually did not happen, and very quickly we were completely even. So HeroMarine, no doubt, had an army supply lead, but it is now gone. Upgrade actually kind of a favor for Oliveira as he moves in here, but so much more about positioning. He is going to look to grab that tank, and he will grab it, while safeguarding his retreat with his own tank siege. The Oliveira is once again on the aggression. HeroMarine on the back foot. I mean, his upgrades are going to be a little bit later. I actually am kind of worried about that. Oliveira is looking to strike somewhere, and if he realizes he has an upgrade timing, then I go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. These units just going to work their way through the rocks, so it's easy to attack in if you see that opportunity. HeroMarine's going to say, though, if you're out here with pretty much everything, what do you have defensively? Do you have enough to deal with 24 Marines? Yeah, probably not in a lot of places. This is the lead HeroMarine has. He's safe and developed in his main base with turrets, etc. That's not something you've afforded here as Oliveira. Those medevacs, though, they're just over there. HeroMarine sees this retreat. I was going to say, if he got caught with those medevacs, well, that could have been bad, but he knew where the army was moving to. Oliveira's actually going to come back over the left side. HeroMarine will start a siege. Oliveira's once again backing away.
Not going to find any upgrade lead there as everything evens out. Correct to point out the lack of missile turrets. It's not that Oliveira couldn't afford it, and Tedex just didn't get it. So 3 medevacs will get into the main base and cause some serious destruction. There's not even any reinforcements for Oliveira, right? He is actually completely maxed out. We might have yet another base trade as Oliveira pushes in to the 3rd base of Dragon Scales, but so many tanks siege up. Never mind about that. He does, however, take down that 4th base of HeroMarine, but HeroMarine on top of Terran production, we know that's the real killer.
On top of production, yeah, the killer really is the word there, because what can you do? You can't build anything. Both of your factories are about to have gone down. You've got Marines that are producing on the other side. You're going to lose your own main base. So a lot of the work that Oliveira's done on the other side is being undone very quickly. He's got money he cannot spend right now. His engineering base go down as well, so there goes the chance to get to +3/+3 ahead of time as well. And that means that HeroMarine will have that big upgrade lead at some point of this game. Oliveira still has a lot of units on the map, and if HeroMarine doesn't realize that, maybe he could still make this something of a weird base trade.
Base trade number 2, maybe? It could actually happen. Oliveira has a forward base that's going to die, as well as a 3rd base that is going to die by the Marines that never got mopped up. Oliveira's army's got to be somewhere, and HeroMarine, I think, knows that, right? So he has been trying to reinforce back at home, but it might not be enough. Currently, HeroMarine, 30 more army supply, but now it's his turn to have trouble in his production line. The interference matrix takes out that would-be tank that would have been a big help, and now the Marines of Oliveira are wrecking through the production, probably going to target fire in the same order as HeroMarine did, as HeroMarine says, well, it's a real base trade. It's about production. Let's get everywhere at once. Let's try and stop this from actually remaxing, and he is getting the siege tanks on top of the would-be barracks reinforcements. I actually don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I can tell you the supplies look good for HeroMarine.
Yeah, the army supply is just better for him in the first place, right? And they're both going to end up losing their production, so it feels as though this should just be fine. I just don't see where Oliveira gets the extra units from at any point. He doesn't have tanks here to defend. Those Marines are probably goners too.
Yeah, as I said, Oliveira might try and focus fire the same way that HeroMarine did. How did he do it? Did you guys miss it? He actually focus fired the factories first. Yeah. He took those out of the equation. I think he realized not only general weakness of TVT not to have tanks, right? But perhaps if this went into a base race, having those tanks producing, if he had 4 tanks on that high ground there, Oliveira might have been able to actually hold against the kind of second base race, if you will. Everything is already going a little bit poorly. Oliveira might be able to take a fight before HeroMarine's 3-3 finishes. That would be the best chance for these Marines. But he's actually going to go for it. Bit of a concave on the high ground, take out the Marines. Vikings land, but the tanks are not being taken care of, and Oliveira's attempt to break out of his own main base. Does that work?
It does not, but there was nothing else he could have done with those Marines. The Liberators, though, siege up. There's no anti-air here, and HeroMarine sends these tanks attacking, surrounded by the SCVs. You don't leave for free. GG. HeroMarine pulls it back. Double base trade. Don't mind if I do. And he's back in this round of 12.
There it is, man. All it took was a couple of doomy drops, you know. It's a TBT classic. Very well executed there from HeroMarine. It kind of felt like he saw the incoming TVT a little bit faster than Oliveira, and certainly had his units in place, of course, a little bit faster. Again, excellent decision-making with those Marines in the main. The factories, the add-ons, and then eventually those upgrades as well. Didn't get to play a part, but still, they would have been done, actually, if he didn't snipe them. So just really cool TVT. That's what we wanted to see as well. The first 2, a little bit one-sided, not too much happened. Suddenly there was a GG call, and it's like, all right. Now we get HeroMarine striking back, giving himself that confidence he probably needs to continue what could be the reverse sweep, the 3-2 in his favor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, as time, Oliveira, I feel like at least you just get to say here, look, this game didn't start well for me, and I really stuck it out. I gave myself some chances. I made it awkward. And you got those first games to look back on as well. You'll say, hey, look, you know, when I did get ahead, I really was very good at closing out as well. So it was almost like just a little bit of safety in this early game of Game 3 was like the killer. Like in SCV Scout, everything was a bit delayed, and from there, everything he did was just behind HeroMarine.
Yeah, and it was safe, but then it didn't really seem to provide that, right? He lost a couple of SCVs, he kind of got pseudo-contained, never really truly went in his favor. And while he had a possible strike back with the medevac drop and push, we know that just did not go very well at all. He did stabilize eventually, but again, the drops, the base trades, HeroMarine was able to get in place a bit better. I believe HeroMarine has gone and go ahead and taken the break. Yes, that is allowed, of course, for them. These very, very intense matches. So, guys, we're going to go to that break. When we come back, it is Game 4 of Oliveira HeroMarine.
We are back, ready to wrap up this TVT series between HeroMarine and Oliveira. Oliveira leads 2-1 in case you missed the opening maps of this series. He was dominant in the first two. The moment HeroMarine got ahead in Game 3, he never really let it slip. It got close again,
Yeah.
but it was always, HeroMarine that had the forward advantage.
Yeah, you could kind of, you could actually argue that he kind of let the lead go by letting the army stabilize. Yes. You could, absolutely. But what was important is that he had, I think, at that point, the tools to work with the master plan, which is kind of what we were talking about earlier on. He kind of saw the trajectory of the game and prepared for it, really did force it as well, and prepared for it very, very well. So he has a chance in this best of 5. HeroMarine, certainly one of the fan favorites, but Oliveira, I think, quickly becoming one, showcasing just how good he is. Can he actually take out the semifinalists of 2022.
Absolutely. As we get into Babylon, map the Terran players kind of like in the other matchups, so fun to then see it in TVT. In the bottom right, our red Terran player from Geyser Gaming. He's one map away from a quarterfinal. It's Oliveira.
Finally getting a point on the board, perhaps because of your guys' energy and cheers. Let's hear it once again for Mouse Esports HeroMarine.
Map 4 of our series, and well, super tense, of course. I mean, HeroMarine defends 1 match point. He's got to do it twice more if he wants to be able to move on to that round of 8 and start repeating last year's performance in Katowice for himself. Of course, if they win this, the winner of this gets Raynor, right? And for HeroMarine, that'd be a rematch from last year's semi-final. That was a match he was 2-0 up in. It was crazy.
Cannon Rush works.
Yeah?
Does it though?
Didn't you make a YouTube video about that?
Did I?
Something about Cannon Rush, you went viral, I don't know.
Oh, that a guy Cannon Rushed me and then asked me to leave after I defended it. No, I didn't leave, shockingly.
All right.
I took my MMR.
That's why I took the signs off the screen, ZG. It wasn't true.
Yeah, exactly. Right, no, this is another standard TVT opener. We are on a shorter map. I don't think it's the shortest, but Factory expands aplenty coming down. Oliveira, he did play, it would seem to be a more defensive style, conservative style, lined up a lot better with HeroMarine, but then took damage anyways. So we might have him go back to what he did in the first game, actually, which was a pretty solid build order. It really looks so darn clean. Let's see him do it again to see if there's any of this little details that I could catch. The only thing I really could catch was that, of course, the order of his tech lab production. Yes, that. But then also that his supply depots. He need 1.5 less, I guess is how you would put it. But we will get into that nerdy stuff if we have to. Although I will point out, again, another nerdy thing. He does take all 3 out of 1 gas, as opposed to 1 out of 1 and 2 out of another.
It's interesting. It's actually inefficient.
I thought so. I thought we figured this one out.
Yeah, in the very most minor way. Officially, if you have 3 workers in gas, there's that very slight moment where that SCV stops and waits. You can see it there and here. And he just waits to go in the refinery. So if you could do 2 in 1, you never have that stop and wait. So it's slightly better. Over a course of 100 gas, probably like a 5-10 gas difference, if that.
That is interesting. I wonder if it's just... Oh.
Unnecessary. Big game sacrificing everything to win this series, EG.
He sacrificed it now to the Terran god. He's going to win. I was going to, sorry, on the gas, the last final point about that, very, very, very tiny detail, is that it might actually just be kind of easier for him, just be like, whoop, box select, like you're all.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe if there's something about his build, which at that exact moment he wants to pull out a gas, he's doing something else, like building, starting or something. I don't know, just... Yeah, maybe he just doesn't care enough. Something
to ask him, a super, super detailed question.
The most detailed question.
Just like, not congratulations, you've won,
Yeah.
He gets interviewed. It's like, so that gas thing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
He's like, huh? Didn't know. Never realized.
Whoa, it's more efficient. That would be a funny answer. So what do we have? The hopping going around for all of the production facilities. Okay, so Oliveira is doing, again, more that typical reactor on the barracks, tech labs, and everything else. And, okay, did it for HeroMarine. So just a little bit different as far as what units they got, right? Because Oliveira is getting a faster Raven.
Yes.
Unit check, unit check.
Unit tab. I think it was like a different Cyclone timing, ever so slightly. And, yeah, Cyclone versus no Cyclone.
There you go.
So,
there you have it.
Yeah, HeroMarine goes a little bit more tech-heavy on the factory. I like it for Oliveira because, honestly, the Cyclone does have some uses, but it does fall off quite quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this basically has been the way that you can open either way, so they have their benefits, but it always has been a discussion point of, well, tanks are good. Tanks are always going to be good in TVT, basically. But the Cyclone has a little bit more of that possibility, let's put it that way, where it can lock on to something very important, or it can lock on defensively against maybe one of the medevac openers, which we were seeing a decent amount, I felt like, before we got here.
Yes.
And then not so much here, right?
It's like everyone's like, yeah, I'll build an early medevac, and now they're like, no, never works. Which, to be fair, like a lot of the time it really didn't work. You go across the map and you're like, oh, I killed a depot, and then I go home and I'm down a Raven.
Oh, okay. Now we have a huge difference. Oliveira not adding on a 3rd CC. He went right up to those 3 barracks. This is a huge deviation. He's going to be very aggressive, perhaps eyeing the map as that opportunity.
That's actually very cool. I like it a lot. You know, straight up and simple. It's a very cool way to mix things up. And in a series that's been fairly standard throughout so far, it's a cool way to maybe catch HeroMarine off guard. And if HeroMarine even believes he can get on the map a little bit with a bit of a push, because you know, Oliveira's been building some fast 3CCs,
yeah,
and then boom, you wrap around with Stim a ton more Marines, it's really bad for HeroMarine. So a lot of potential here in this push from Oliveira. Either if HeroMarine pushes or if he just has to push himself.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think there's a lot of reasons why Oliveira can do this. The map, what you were talking about, really playing suddenly just very, very different. But then also, this is somewhat of like a callback to what I really loved about Oliveira for a while. He was doing some really tricky builds. He was, you know, not swapping off the factory. He was still producing Hellbats and TVZ at a time you wouldn't expect. He was, for, I feel like, a stint of at least 6 months, way more commonly doing a 2-base TVT opener when really, guys, people stopped doing it. And I don't even remember when that was. Probably like a year ago or more at this point. But this is something that he is absolutely familiar with. Don't get it twisted. Like, it's not that he's just like, oh, I'll do something really weird. But let's see if it works.
Scout.
Because if it's scouted, and now HeroMarine knows that he has to play defensive, I mean, this really does take away that surprise part of the strategy.
Yeah, it really does. And you're a little bit behind on tech here overall in terms of like the bulkier units like tanks and ravens and stuff as Oliveira. So you're not really set up to play the longer, kind of more passive game. He is going to start pushing out with everything, and I wonder if that's a position he can set up. If he forces HeroMarine to worry about the main, and then you actually hit the right side of the third, maybe there's some potential there.
There's absolutely still potential. For a while in TVT in general, we had a lot of 3CC versus 2CC. That was back when Innovation was still dominating the matchup, so a few years back at this point. And even though it's scouted, that's not the only thing that's good about it, right? So the consistent pressure can be very difficult for the defending Terran, HeroMarine in this case, to actually figure out where are they coming in from. 2 medivacs boosting into the natural of HeroMarine, actually into the main. They figure it's wide open. Why not go for it? And they will fully unload.
They will fully unload, and that's terrifying. We're going to see the Ravens, one of them shot down. Auto turret don't last very long at all, and SCVs are brought to the slaughter here. 16 go down, and the 16 Marines are still going strong in this main base. They'll turn around for a few more units. We've auto-turreted at the front as well. The tanks get siege, and Oliveira is dismantling HeroMarine here in Game 4.
Yeah, excellent execution. HeroMarine needed some just like a little bit different as to where he placed his units. He has been broken. The auto turret's perfectly placed. Nothing there to actually help defend the tanks. He was all over the place trying to defend all of the angles of attack. It is so darn difficult for the defending Terran to do that. Oliveira displaying great strength with this 2-base build. He's almost got this on lockdown, not just the game, but the entire series.
I think it was a fantastic move. The drop was spotted, he brought it back, he made it look like it rejoined the main army, so HeroMarine pulls everything to that right side, and the drop went back on the map. So he really just made HeroMarine guess where everything was, and he couldn't guess correctly enough, and that's what left that opening, which then obviously on panic mode and crisis management was not enough. Here we go, as Oliveira looking for his ticket into the quarterfinals. SCVs are pulled again from HeroMarine, but GG, the fist pumps are out, and Oliveira is a quarterfinalist in the World Championship.